In the world of PC handhelds, it feels like every device is the same device. You know, a company comes along and wants to throw its ring into the hat and make its own PC handheld, and it just ends up being another slightly different thing that's almost the same thing as this other thing that we already have. Jeez, these companies make it seem like it's hard to make a handheld gaming PC or something. I mean, look, all I want is a device that works as good as everything else out there, has all the best parts of everything else out there, but is also different from everything else. Is that so much to ask? No, it's not. Nobody wants something that takes up more space than it needs to. Small is the new big. Everyone wants the small thing. Tiny houses, tiny cars, tiny retro handhelds, tiny food, tiny cats, tiny cat food. It seems like making things small is the way of the future. But humans have been trying to make things smaller and smaller since the dawn of man. And with that smallness usually comes uselessness. Sometimes small is too small, that's what she said. So when I heard about this, the GPD Win Mini, I had no idea if it would feel good or too small or too big or too not good. And I'm happy to report that it doesn't feel too not good. It's actually super not good. It's a little bit confusing, a little bit amazing, a little bit little, and a lot of bit interesting enough to make a YouTube video about, that's for sure. If you're confused about what this thing even is, which is fine, I know you get confused easily, allow me to explain. The GPD Win Mini is a little computer, a little gaming computer. It's powered by the AMD Ryzen 7 8840U, basically top of the line specs for a handheld. It looks like a little laptop computer. It's got a full keyboard and a trackpad. It has a screen that flips up. However, it has full handheld controls in addition to the laptop controls. It looks weird, but when you pick this up and get your thumbs into battle position, you're instantly like, oh, okay, this feels familiar. Let's smash some demon faces. And then you do, and it's glorious. As a handheld, there are a few compromises that they had to make for this form factor, but honestly, this thing is legit an amazing handheld gaming device. When I first saw this, I had no idea if I'd like this or not. And in my first hour with it, I didn't like it, but that wore off quickly once I got a bit used to it. And now, after using it for a week, I am freaking in love with this thing. You can use this thing to game the same way that you would with a handheld PC, like the ROG Ally. But you can also use it in ways that you never could use the Ally. And that's why it's so interesting and fun. That and the fact that it's a computer that fits in your pocket, obviously. Like I said, this bad boy is rocking the Ryzen 7 8840U processor with integrated Radeon 780M graphics. However, there is also a version that uses the Ryzen 5 8640U with an integrated Radeon 760M GPU. All models come with 32 gigabytes of LPDDR5 RAM clocked at a respectable 6400 megathings per second. My model has 1 terabyte of PCIe 4.0 NVMe internal storage, but other models come with 512 gigabytes or 2 terabytes. The display is a 7-inch 1080p IPS LCD panel, 120Hz with FreeSync Premium. We also get Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.2, and a 44 watt-hour battery. No versions come with 1UP Mushroom, so if you want that, you'll have to add it yourself. Cute little guy. I didn't buy this. Some dweeb I know bought it and is just letting me play with it to show you. And he's probably gonna ask for it back like a jerk. Sheesh, the things I have to deal with. The pricing is kind of all over the place depending on where you get this from. I'll go with the prices that they have on Indiegogo. So it looks like you'll pay anywhere from $700 for the base model to $1,080 for the high-end model. So the low-end model is the same price as the ROG Ally MSRP, and you'll pay more if you want to get the top-end specs with 2 terabytes. Honestly, that's a fair price considering how similar this is to the ROG Ally in performance. When it's closed, it looks like a little black book. But open the cover to expose the juicy computer insides and you'll see a full suite of controls like a full QWERTY keyboard, including the function keys and home row, dual Hall effect recessed joysticks, a D-pad over here, face buttons over here, and some extra buttons like start and select, L4 and R4, a menu button that acts like the Xbox guide button, and an awesome little adorable trackpad. Around back, we have bumpers and triggers, and a whole bunch of inputs. We have 2 USB-C holes, and one of these is USB 4, which means that you can connect this to an eGPU like a Thunderbolt external GPU. We also have a toggle switch to switch control modes, and a headphone hole, and a USB-A hole, and this down here is a micro SD card hole. Nothing on the sides or the front or the bottom, other than some ventilation down there. So previous models of the Win Mini had an Oculink hole, which was a dedicated interface for connecting Oculink external GPUs. They took that off in favor of this USB-A hole, but I know some people are probably sad about that. And if you're sad, then a surefire way to fix that is to bring more joy to your life by subscribing to TechDweeb. There you go. Doesn't that feel better already? Real quick, let's do a pocket test. Keep in mind that this is a little computer, and it fits in your pocket. Not like a big stupid pocket in giant pants. A regular pocket in regular pants. It's a bit of a tight fit, but come on. It's a computer in your pocket. A computer. It's in your pocket. The concept of using a computer like a handheld is baffling to me. I get baffled easily, but what's more baffling is that they freaking nailed it. It actually works. It doesn't have the comfort of a Steam Deck, few things in this world do, but all things considered, it's really freaking comfortable. Everything is in just the right place so that it ends up feeling more like you're holding a controller rather than a mini laptop. There are also grips that you can get that add to the comfort and bring it closer in line to other handhelds. I didn't add those because I feel like it makes it lose some of its laptop charm, but if comfort is your priority, then you'll want to put these on. The controls themselves are amazing. These are Hall effect sticks, smooth and accurate across the entire range of motion. These are probably the best Switch style sticks that I've ever used. The triggers are great too. Hall triggers, and they're smooth as heck. And we all know how smooth heck is. We have clicky bumpers, and the buttons and D-pad are both clicky. They have a dome switch connection, and they are both low profile, and they feel great. I guess if you don't like dome switches, you're not going to like these, but I love the feel of the D-pad and the buttons on this thing. And no issue with the D-pad inputs or anything. It's all great, in my opinion, which is all that matters. And then we have a trackpad, and this is great that they managed to fit in such a useful trackpad. So if you have the switch on the back set to controller, all this stuff behaves like a controller, but if you set it to the mouse, then the controls switch to desktop PC controls. So the right analog stick controls the cursor, and the right bumper is the right click, and the left bumper is the left click. And the left thumbstick is the direction keys. So you kind of get the best of both worlds here. Or the worst of both, I guess, depending on how you look at it. But you can take that negative energy to a different YouTube video if you're going to be like that. Having a keyboard is a godsend. It's not comfortable to type on. Don't plan on writing your autobiography on this because it's slow and no one will read it because no one likes you. Except me. I'll read it, but it won't make me like you though. It's amazing just to have access to a keyboard for Windows navigation or functions. Every now and then I go to enter a URL or whatever and I'm expecting the on-screen keyboard to pop up, and it takes me a moment to realize that I have an actual keyboard to use instead. And the keyboard is backlit too, which is nice to be able to clearly see the keys even in a dim room. Having a physical keyboard and trackpad takes away a lot of the Windows annoyances that we get on handhelds. Things that make you want to pull out your hair and punch your cat on the ROG Ally are a breeze on here because you can use your keyboard and mouse to open Task Manager, switch applications, open the start menu, click on pop-ups, view websites. Anything that you're doing that needs a keyboard and mouse, you can do it here. That alone is reason enough to consider this over other handhelds. The screen is good. It's a native landscape LCD, but it has good contrast, and at 7 inches, that 1080p looks super crisp. However, having 120Hz with FreeSync Premium is a big help for making your games feel smooth. But really, it's a pretty standard screen as far as handhelds go, I guess. It feels about the same as the Ally or the Claw. The sound at first was kind of disappointing to me. It's supposed to have DTS:X spatial audio, and it sounded good, but it was overall kind of quiet. I thought maybe I had wax in my ears. And I did, but even after I cleaned out the wax, it was still quiet. Loud enough, but not loud, you know? And then when I was poking around, I saw that there was a pre-installed DTS:X app, and that immediately made the speakers louder. So I don't know if the app is boosting the audio data or if this is required to be able to access the full speaker hardware, but I just set this to launch automatically and that cleared my problem right up. In addition to the DTSX app, another essential app is an included app called Motion Assistant, which is a dumb name because this app really has nothing to do with motion or assisting motion. It's just an app to control the TDP and the fan. It's not flashy. It kind of looks like something from the Windows XP era, but it gets the job done. You can set any TDP that you want, change TDPs on the fly, and change the fan profile. This app is ugly, but it's functional. Like my fourth favorite aunt. She's always helping me out. What a sweetie, but dang, she sure is ugly. Other than that, it's just Windows, standard Windows stuff. You can browse the web, do Photoshop or edit videos if you want to do that for some reason. The 8840U is powerful enough to handle a ton of stuff, so if you want to use this as an actual PC, maybe docked with a keyboard and mouse, you could totally do that. When talking about gaming on handhelds, there's a zillion factors to consider. Everything from the graphics of the game to the resolution to the refresh rate and the TDP, the noise and the heat. Some people want maximum all-out performance and some people want low performance but high battery life. So, what kind of person are you? If you want a game at the lowest TDP possible, you can manually set the wattage down to 4 watts, and you can play simple indie games like this no problem. Here's Bot Vice, a very low-spec game, but an amazing game, and it's running awesome. Solid 60 FPS. And then here's Halls of Torment. This game, again, isn't demanding, but gosh darn is it fun. And yeah, it's running beautifully. Steady 60 FPS. And if you look at the GPU power, we're actually down at 3 watts. Using the device like this, you can expect around probably 8 watts of total power draw, give or take, depending on the game and the screen brightness, which means that you're looking at around 5.5 hours of battery life like this. But in more demanding scenarios, you'll need to up the TDP. I had to go up to 10 watts to get Cult of the Lamb over 30 FPS. Interestingly, I was running The Witcher 3 at the same wattage and getting almost the same FPS. You'll notice in The Witcher 3 that I'm running at just 720p low with balanced FSR, but on a handheld with a screen this size, the game still looks amazing, and gaming at 10 watts will get you around 2.5 hours of battery, which is not too bad at all. Some games are more demanding, so you'll need to go up in the wattage for them, like Shadow of the Tomb Raider here. I couldn't get this playable in any way at 10 watts, so I had to go up to 15 watts. And some games can take advantage of that variable refresh rate. Doom Eternal runs fine at 10 watts, but if you go up to 15 watts, you can get a nice high FPS in the 70s and 80s. Interestingly, increasing the TDP up to the max of 20 watts doesn't give you much extra performance, so it seems like there's diminishing returns above 15 watts. I think that the sweet spot is going to be playing at 10 watts when you can, and then bumping it up to 15 watts when you need to. At 20 watts, the device runs a bit warm for my taste, and you'll only get around 1.5 hours of battery like that. Probably not worth going up that high unless you need that last 10% better performance and you don't mind running a bit warm. Speaking of which, yeah, this thing does get a bit warm. If you're playing at higher wattages, you will feel heat underneath on your trigger fingers, but also under your thumbs. I found that the D-pad and the button area actually heat up quite a bit to the point where I found it uncomfortable, and I actively avoided gaming at 15 watts or over just because I didn't like that warmth. To be fair, I did have the fan set to a low profile though, because if there's one thing I hate more than toasty fingies, it's a loud fan, and this fan can get pretty loud on the high profile. But honestly, all this performance and heat and fan talk is basically the same experience as any other handheld PC. I have the same exact issues with most of these, and also there my workaround is to game at lower wattages, which is fine by me because most of the games that I want to play run fine at 10 watts or lower. But one thing I wanted to know was how well this played games that you can't play on other handhelds. Obviously you can play Doom or Witcher or whatever just like other handhelds, but one of my favorite games ever is Crusader Kings, and that can literally not be played on other handhelds. Even the Steam Deck with its trackpads, which is usually good for strategy games, you can't play Crusader Kings 3 there because you need a 1080p screen, and you can't play it well on the Ally because you need mouse control. The Win Mini handles this beautifully. The left joystick moves around on the map so that I can hold this in 2 hands with 1 finger on the trackpad for clicking stuff like menus and moving units, and I have complete full control over the game. Kinda magical that I can finally play this game on a handheld. And this is what the GPD Win Mini is all about. If you want to use it just as a handheld, you can get the same experience on a more comfortable device like the ROG Ally. But if you want to avoid the Windows annoyances and play games that you can only enjoy with a mouse and keyboard, then this thing is the handheld to get. It's amazing that you can get an experience that feels like a laptop in one game and then a handheld in another game. I love the versatility that you get here. And in general, I love it to bits, and I would happily play hours upon hours of games on this thing. However, I need to mention that I don't think that this thing, the controls and the shape and basically everything about how you use it, I don't think that it's going to be for everyone. It's amazing for me and the kind of things that I want to do, but I can definitely see lots of people not loving it. So if what you see looks good to you, then maybe you'll like it. And if it looks awkward and uncomfortable and weird, then maybe you won't. I can't recommend this for everybody, but it's an easy recommendation for anyone who needs what this does because no other handheld does it. And also, did I mention it's a computer that fits in your pocket? Because it is, and that's amazing. If you want to pick up your own GPD Win Mini, I'll toss a link to where you can buy this in the thingy below. And that brings us to the end. So what do you think of this thing? Do you think it looks cool? Useless? I got lots of responses when I posted a photo of this on my community tab, so I'd love to know if there's anything that I missed or I didn't explain well enough, or if there's anything else that you'd like to see me do with it. Although I'll need you to help me convince the dweeb who lent this to me to let me play with it some more. I'm kidding, buddy. I don't want to keep your toy from you. Well, that's a lie. I do, but I won't. If you like this video, then check out some of my other videos. There will be a few that YouTube thinks that you'll enjoy, pop it up in just a few seconds. And there's a link to a playlist where you can binge all my videos in the thingy below. Click the like button, subscribe if you haven't, don't lick your handhelds or other people's. I'm TechDweeb. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.